Hi, welcome to the basics model of Chapter 4, Demand and Supply. This is Segment 3, Price Takers and the Invisible Hand. Here we will give you a first introduction to the price mechanism. We will explain why we always have to consider demand and supply to analyze price changes. We also will prove that demand alone or supply alone never can explain price changes. This is something to keep in mind for the whole course. Therefore, you should revisit this segment after a few weeks. We will briefly review the fact that in a competitive market, neither individual demanders nor individual suppliers can influence the price. They are both price takers. This raises the question, who or what can influence the price? So far, we answered this question with the invisible hand. In this segment, you will get a first idea how the invisible hand works. Let us review price takers in a competitive market. No individual demander or consumer can influence the market price. Demanders are price takers. Although individual demanders can't coordinate their actions, they might act in the same way without any coordination when they are influenced by the same event. Here is an example. The hype of the low-carb diet made some consumers stop eating bread. Each consumer alone can't influence the demand significantly. A big group acting in the same way would influence the demand. The low-carb hype actually decreased the bread demand. No individual supplier can influence the market price. Suppliers are price takers. Although in a competitive market individual suppliers can't coordinate their actions, they might act in the same way without any coordination when they are influenced by the same event. For example, while a production increase or decrease of one farmer would not influence the wheat supply at all, a drought would hurt a lot of farmers and the overall supply of wheat would go down. Bottom line, individuals can't influence supply and demand, while specific events can. We just learned that specific events can influence demand and/or supply. This raises two questions. If an event influences demand, will this change the price? Or if an event influences supply, will this change the price? The answer as often is no and somehow yes. The answer is no because we always have to compare demand and supply together to make a statement about the price. If demand is greater than supply, the price will increase. If demand is smaller than supply, the price will decrease. The answer is somehow yes for the following reason. If demand increases and supply does not change, this would lead to a situation where demand is greater than supply and the price would increase, given that demand matched supply initially. The same could be true for a change in supply. But in both cases, we would have to compare demand and supply to find out if demand is greater than supply or vice versa. Here is an example for what we just learned. What will happen with housing prices in the greater Los Angeles area in the future? We know almost for sure that the demand for houses will increase due to immigration and due to the fact that the children of the baby boomers start buying houses. Does this mean that prices increase? Not necessarily, because almost for sure supply will increase too. More and more land will be developed and new houses will be built. If the supply increase matches the demand increase, nothing at all will happen to the price. If the supply increase is greater than the demand increase, prices would actually fall. Only if the supply increase is smaller than the demand increase, prices would go up. Bottom line, we will always have to look at supply and demand simultaneously to make a statement about price changes. There are four things you should remember from this segment. Demand alone never can influence the price. Supply alone never can influence the price. If demand is greater than supply, the price will increase. If demand is smaller than supply, the price will decrease. This was the last segment of this module. Please proceed with the next module.